Good morning. It is actually Tuesday after Labor Day, and I'm starting a new reading vlog. And as usual, just finished the last one, so I'm in the same place. I'm physically reading Shielded by Kaylin Flanders, and I'm also listening to Wundersmith by Jessica Townsend. I'm about halfway through with both, so yeah, definitely excited to continue in both of those. My physical reading plans this week include finishing Shielded. I think that'll probably take me a good chunk of the rest of the week, so if I do get a chance to pick something else up physically, it'll probably be The Lost Plot by Genevieve Cogman. So we'll see if I can get to this. Not quite sure, but I'll let you know if I'm able to get to that one. As far as audiobooks, so I'm going to finish Wundersmith by Jessica Townsend. Absolutely loving that one, by the way. I love this series so much. So I'm going to finish that one. The next audiobook I already have checked out at the library. I need to get to The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell, which is the group book for the Touch of Whimsy readathon that is Alice in Wonderland themed. And so that one is next, since I already have it out and I need to return it to the library. Honestly, it's probably going to take me through the rest of the week if I'm able to get to something else. The other book that I have checked out from the library, or a hold that came through, is The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen. It's not on, I actually forgot to mention this one in my TBR, it's not on a TBR for either of the readathons that I'm participating in, but it's just a hold that came in from the library. So that'll, if I can start that one, that would be great. So those are going to be my plans this week, and I will keep you posted on what I'm able to read. And it is Friday morning, and I just have one main thing to check in about, and that is that I finished Wundersmith. And this is the second book in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. And if you're not familiar with the series, it follows a little girl named Morgan Crow who is cursed to die on her 11th birthday, and because she is a cursed child, she's also blamed for everything bad that happens in her town. Until one day, Jupiter North is able to whisk her away to the magical place called Nevermore, and she is able to compete for a place in the Wondrous Society. And this is the second book. It follows right after the events of Nevermore. And I fucking loved this book. I loved it just as much as the first one. Morgan is just, I love her. I love Jupiter. I love the hotel. I love kind of the school setting that she's in. And I love the things that she gets into in this book and the lessons that she needs to learn. And she's still kind of struggling with some of the same feelings of wanting to belong and not really knowing if she does belong, and is still kind of learning and growing throughout Wundersmith. And you can also kind of start to see where some of the series is going in this one, and oh my god, I loved it. I loved it so much. I really can't say much else in terms of the plot, because it just continues on from the first book in the series, but I just loved everything about it. I love the characters, I love the world. It's just so charming and whimsical, and if you just need a delightful, whimsical time, the series is just perfection. So that's basically it for Wundersmith. I really don't have much more to say besides I had a smile on my face the entire time I was listening to this. The narrator for these books, by the way, I listened to it on audio from my library. The narrator would recommend on audio if you happen to like audiobooks or you don't have access to that audiobook. Would recommend. I'm quite a bit farther in Shielded. I'm hoping to finish this today. I'm on page 330, and I think there's just a bit over 400 pages, 425 pages maybe, 420. Anyway, so I have under 100 pages left in this book. So I'm hoping I can finish this up maybe today. We'll see. The goal would be today. I don't know if that'll happen. but hopefully I can finish this up today, or at least early tomorrow. I'm also listening to the audiobook for The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell, and this one is a delight so far, so I'll talk more about that. I'll probably listen to more of that tomorrow as well. Fiona Hardingham narrates, and she's fantastic, but I'll talk about that one more once I actually finish that audiobook, but I'm about a third of the way through. So that is my update so far. Hey, so it's Saturday night, and I was thinking about the prompt for the Touch of Whimsy readathon to just have a cozy night in and read a middle grade. I meant to do this last weekend over Labor Day weekend with Wundersmith. It didn't end up happening, but I do have some tea here, and I'm just ready for a cozy night in. And it's actually pretty late. I'm already tired. Well, it's late for me, and I'm already pretty tired, but I just, some tea sounded really good, and just kind of unwinding and listening to a bit of The Train to Impossible Places just sounded really delightful as a way to just wind down for the evening, or wind down for the night really. And so I'm gonna do that, and I figured I would film it and just kind of have a little clip of that and count that as my prompt for having a cozy night in. And so yeah, so it's not the book that I thought I would do it with, but I could do it with any of these books really, and I can probably do this multiple times throughout the month really, and just whenever I want a cozy night in. But I'm gonna count it and just include it in this vlog as part of the Touch of Whimsy readathon. So I'm just gonna chill, drink some tea, and listen to The Train to Impossible Places. So it is Tuesday morning, so I'm going to wrap up this vlog. I actually have two updates from my reading this weekend. One, I finished Shielded by Kaylin Flanders, and I gave kind of a brief synopsis before, so I'm not going to repeat that because it's basically what I said earlier on in the vlog is the amount that I would want to say to kind of give a setup for this, but not kind of give too much away. This is actually a duology. I triple checked Goodreads after I was most of the way through and realized there was way too much to resolve for it to be a standalone. So I can't use this for Becca's Bookopoly prompt for standalone, but I'll use House in the Cerulean Sea instead, so it'll be fine. And I think this is actually going to be a duology. But, so I'm not going to give any more plot synopsis, but I'll just give my overall thoughts. I thought the characters, like overall it was just fine and fun, but nothing particularly special. The characters weren't terribly deep or dynamic or interesting to me. They kind of just were typical YA fantasy characters that, you know, again, weren't particularly memorable to me. And it was kind of a slower book than I thought it would be. So, you know, there are quite a few elements here where the main character is either spending some time trying to survive, which is fair, but it takes up a decent portion of the book of her being injured and trying to heal from various things, or kind of waiting for different things to happen. There's just a lot more waiting in this book than I thought there would be. Anyway, I don't know, it was just a pretty slow book, slower than I thought it would be and slower than I wanted from this book. And it wasn't too slow, you know, I was still interested enough the whole time to keep reading. I didn't think about DNFing it. And I think I said this last time too, I didn't have any trouble picking this up or wanting to continue reading. And I might read the sequel, you know, I'll probably, I think it's coming out next year, and I'll probably rent it from the library or something just to kind of see what happens with the characters, but I'm not super invested in making sure that I continue this story or making sure I keep a copy on my shelf. So, you know, it wasn't a total hit for me. Not a bad book. I enjoyed it enough, but it wasn't anything that's gonna stick with me really, or that, you know, just kind of wowed me or was something unique or, you know, super interesting. The politics in this world wasn't terribly in-depth or complex. There were some conveniences that I found in the book that, you know, sometimes conveniences don't bother me and sometimes they do. I have no consistent way of like feeling about just plot conveniences. And they didn't bother me in this one, but I just noting certain conveniences that I was like, oh, okay, fair enough, whatever. And I don't know, there's really not much more I think I want to say, but it was not a total hit for me. But I'm not sad I read it by any means. Who knows, maybe I'll pay enough attention to read the sequel. We'll see. The other thing that I read or listened to on audio was The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. This is narrated by Fiona Hardingham, who is just a delightful narrator. And this book was so much fun. I really enjoyed this one. This one follows Susie. And Susie loves science, she loves physics, she is just a spunky, fun, I think she's 11 years old in this book, and she is in her house one day hanging out with her parents. She's doing some homework, and a train just kind of appears in the middle of the living room, or is it the hallway, whatever, appears in the middle of her house, and her parents have been put asleep by a spell. And whoever was supposed to put the entire family to sleep while this train was going through their house missed putting Susie to sleep. So she's still awake while this train is kind of coming through the middle of their house. And the train conductor says, oh, we needed to take a shortcut, so we had to go through your house. You were supposed to be asleep, and like you were supposed to wake up and be none the wiser that we were ever here. And Susie's trying to figure out what's going on. And it's a train that takes mail to the impossible places, and she winds up going along with this train and going on some adventures with the people and the creatures on this train and delivering some mail to impossible places. And of course one of her deliveries goes awry, and she kind of unveils some things, unveils a conspiracy that she needs to help resolve. And it was just a delight. It was just so much fun. I was just smiling the entire time I was listening to this book. And I adored Susie. I adored the other characters that were with her on this train. I just thought the plot was super fun. And I don't know, I was just super engaged the whole time. And I just absolutely adored it from start to finish. And I would definitely love to read, I think there's another book in the series. The first book is kind of a whole story in and of itself that completely wraps up, but there is a second one, and I assume that just follows a different adventure of her going on this train. So I would definitely be excited to listen to the next book in the series, and it was just precious. Would recommend if you just enjoy fun middle grade adventures. Of trains going to impossible places to deliver mail. Anyway, so those are the last two things that I finished this week, but it was such a good reading week overall. I mean, finishing Wundersmith and Train to Impossible Places, just it was a middle grade week, a delightful middle grade fantasy week. And yeah, so I also, after I finished Shielded, I also just barely started The Lost Plot by Genevieve Cogman, so that was kind of the next thing that I started. I'm also, audiobook wise, started The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen, which follows The Merciful Crow, which I listened to an audio last year and enjoyed, so I wanted to continue on with that series. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this reading vlog. Be sure to subscribe for more bookish content, and I'll be sure to leave all the information down below. My Twitter and Instagram, it's where I like to hang out. I'll leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!